And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Going Nuclear, full blown coverage of the land. I'm Ethan Greenberg, and alongside of me is my co host, Madison Delaney. You are looking festive. You ready for the holidays?
We're as ready as we're gonna be. I kind of forgot that I had to wrap gifts until this morning before I had to leave for where I'm spending Christmas. So I did a little bit of last minute wrapping. Some of it still needs to be wrapped, but that's neither here nor there. We'll get it done.
It'll be all good. Did you have to buy a lot of gifts, or is it de minimis?
It's not too terrible. We do like immediate family gifts, and then we do a draw name for the extended family, which I actually ended up drawing my dad's name. So I got a gift that everybody kind of went in on. Can't say what it is yet, but I think he's gonna like it. He doesn't know. Yes, he does. He does know what it is, but we're gonna make it a surprise come when we open gifts on Christmas Eve.
I think that's always good. I kind of like having that idea of a surprise. I think the worst thing I ever did was as a kid, a Hanukkah gift. I just annoyed the crap out of my dad until he finally gave me the gift early. And I feel very badly about that still to this day. You know, it was an excellent transformer. I really wanted, and I got it, but, I badgered him, made him play video games. I was like, if I beat you at this game, you have to give me my gift. It was, I had a little bit of a leg up there, but so
Yeah.
yeah, it was no good. So I'm not exactly proud of that moment. Not exactly proud of that. What do you guys do now for Christmas, Christmas Eve? You got family there. Who's cooking?
My mom's gonna cook. If the printer goes off, it's just because she's printing recipes. She was trying to decide what she's gonna make. So my mom will cook. I will maybe try to help out, but I'm not really much of a chef, so probably will keep the dogs occupied more than anything. And then of course we got the Browns game. We celebrate Christmas Eve. So we've got the Browns game, and we'll have family in town. So we're gonna force them all to watch Browns games that they don't care about because it's my mom's side. They're not from Ohio. My uncle will support them, I think, just because me and my dad like them, and my mom, of course. But yeah, we do like surprise gifts. So everybody buys a gift or two that no one knows about, and we do the secret Santa you can steal from someone in the true holiday spirit. Steal a gift from someone. So that should be a good time. We've got some good gifts for that, I'm sure. Looking forward to seeing what ends up in the surprise gifts this year.
Oh, that is fantastic. That is definitely fantastic. I mean, at least amongst family, you feel like it's a good time. I never was a big fan of the forced, and I use the term loosely, forced gift exchange, and white elephant type deal at places of employment. I'm just
Oh yeah.
nah. I'm not down with that. I'm not down with that. But it's all good. Starting next year, I'll be sitting right here. You're looking at my office, so I'm
There you go.
pumped up about that. Good times, good times. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on in the sports world, and the Browns are the main course. Yeah, they're the main course here. So let's talk a little Cavs. Cavs are winners of 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They won last night over the Utah Jazz due to the stellar performance of a bunch of people that are kind of unsung and unheard of. Sam Merrill, 27 points off the bench. Karis LeVert, 23 points off the bench. Niang, 15, and Tristan Thompson with 10. The starters, the only people who did anything were Allen and Struess.
Yeah.
And Okoro, obviously, he's normally in the starting rotation. And we've got Craig Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
and Dean Wade. So I don't know what to think of the Cavs. They've got another game tonight taking on the Pelicans. They're going to be without Zion Williamson, but we're of course going to be still without Mobley, still without Garland, and then Mitchell's not going to play tonight.
Right.
Where do we think the Cavs are right now?
Yeah, I mean it's everybody wants you to trade Donovan, right? That's where we are. And I think personally the Cavs are in a position where we don't have to trade Donovan, unless the offer is 100% right, right? Like we're not like there's no hand tied behind our back or anything like that. We're not in a position where we have to. If it were the off season next season, then yes, we're probably in a position where we have to trade him because he's got that player option, I think, after next year. And he may not, probably won't want to take it based off of what everybody's saying. But I don't think you have to get rid of him this year. Do I think you move him for the right offer? Potentially, yes. It just depends on what you get back. If you get like a true 3-and-D guy, then yeah, let's like see what we have. And you can get kind of a star back. I don't necessarily want to flip him for a bunch of picks that we don't know what they're going to be yet. Because we have our first round pick this year. So like, let's just draft Bronny and bring LeBron home.
I'm all in. I completely agree with you, and and I love that idea. We might be overdrafting Bronny, but
Oh, for sure,
but
100%.
that's all right. You do what you got to do. Yeah, you definitely do what you got to do. And the thing is, like, I was looking at the standings, and as it sits going into tonight's action, the Cavs are sitting at the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. We're 5.5 out from the top, but then Miami's also 5.5 out, I guess, by virtue of some sort of a tiebreaker. We're ahead of them. And Indiana's only a game back of us. They're 6.5 out. So we could very easily get as high as like the 4 seed. We're a game behind Orlando for 4, but then we're only a game ahead of the 8. I mean, it could vary from one night to another. And there's obviously a lot of season to go. We've only played 28 games. And I guess the crazy thing is, the team hasn't been healthy. So it's very difficult to gauge what you actually have. There's been no opportunity for rhythm, and I don't know what to do. And that's got to be a tough job to be the GM, to be the president of basketball operations. What do you do? And I am kind of tired of the narrative. You brought up the Donovan Mitchell thing. Everybody starts going crazy with rumors swirling and talk about trading Donovan Mitchell. They're nuts. They're absolutely nuts. I think they're looking for clickbait.
Yeah, it is everybody saying it. It's hard to know what's real and what's not at this point. But until I see some realistic offers, like the Zach LaVine for Garland trade, let's get something a little more realistic than that going.
Yeah, I hear you. It's crazy how everybody is always up in Cleveland's business. Nobody thinks anybody wants to play in Cleveland or stay in Cleveland. And I understand in this instance, you've got Donovan Mitchell. Everybody wants to link him to New York or to Brooklyn because that's where he's from. And that's fine. I get it. But it's not just him. Every time a Cleveland franchise gets a star, all the media wants to talk about how they don't want to be here and how to get them out of here. They think that like Cleveland is a cesspool of nothingness. It's crazy. And I wish people would stop the narrative. You just can't seem to catch any breaks with publicity for our sports franchises. I don't know about you, but that's the way I see it. Every time I hear somebody talking about them on national media, it's not positive.
Yeah, I guess with Donovan, and granted, I guess this could be like anybody, but with LeBron, it's different because like LeBron was from here, right? Like it's not like, he's trying to go to his hometown team. Like I understand that angle wholeheartedly. Like I don't know that I really necessarily ever thought he would stay beyond, the contract that he had here. I don't know that I expect him to sign an extension at any point. Maybe he does. But like right now, we just realistically do not have enough to win a championship right now. And I don't know how you get to enough to win a championship unless Mobley takes like a gigantic leap and he becomes the best player on the team, which it's hard to see how that happens when you have Mitchell and Garland taking up shots ahead of him right now. Like, I don't know that we're going to pass up shots for them. And, especially with him being out now, how is that going to happen? You're not going to see it this year. So that is part of the problem is like, how do you improve the team when you have a first round draft pick this year? That's all you have really to build on. You're not likely getting a ton of free agents. Granted, we did get some in the offseason this past year. And they have been pretty good for the most part. But it's finding ways to improve. And it's like, I mean, who can really blame Mitchell if he wants to go play in his hometown? I certainly cannot.
No,
That's
absolutely not.
always a dream, right? Like, I mean, even Travis Kelce said on his podcast he wishes he played for the Browns.
No, you're 100%. No, you're 100% correct. I mean, all joking aside of what Kelsey said, I mean, it's true. It really is. I think it's nice when you have that story and you're there with your hometown. For instance, I was watching a clip of from Valley Sports. They had put up a clip on Twitter talking to Larry Nance Jr.
Mhm.
and CJ McCollum, both Northeast
Yeah,
Ohioans, born and raised here. And
yeah,
CJ never hasn't played for the Cavs, but of course Larry Nance Jr. did. I mean, I'm sure that it was amazing for him to be able to come back and play for the Cavs and follow in his father's footsteps as
yeah.
well. Um, and they were talking about all the things Northeast Ohio, talking about their favorite foods and places. They're talking about their orders at Swenson's. Man, I'll tell you what, CJ McCollum, it looked like he got a boatload of food. Do you get like one of them bag deals like at Hardee's or something?
There
I'm
you
not
go.
so sure about that, but yeah, I
You
think
burn that many calories, I guess.
I guess so. I wish I could I wish I had enough energy and could exercise that hard and can burn all that and was in that good a shape that I could eat that much. That would really, really be nice because I'll tell you what, it stinks to be like, yeah, I can't eat that much. It'll go straight to my thighs. It's no good. Um, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Cavs do and what moves they really want to make because the team, as you suggested, as it's constructed right now, is not in the position to be a championship contender. And at some point, though, you start to say, okay, what pieces and parts can we take out of the equation and get back something in return that's going to move the team forward? And I don't think when we talk about the process of elimination, you're saying, okay, one, you believe you stick with Mobley. I think you stick with Mobley. Allen is a more movable piece. I love Allen. He's great, good guy. And then so you say, okay, now between Garland and Mitchell. Well, Garland, you got him, but
Mhm.
is he good enough? Is he going to lead you? If you were to say, you know what, we're going to cut bait with Mitchell because we don't want to lose him for any, for nothing, right? Is Garland good enough? Or is he only going to be able to get you to, a certain level and then, you're in a bit of a pickle?
Yeah, I mean, I think Garland's good enough if you pair him with the right, like, small forward. I mean, what we really need is a small forward, or I mean, not even really. I mean, depending on if you flip Allen, maybe a power forward or a center potentially. But I mean, you've got to pair him with another star. I mean, because he's played well in the absence of Mitchell throughout
Oh,
the season so far. So like, I feel confident that he would be okay. But I do think you need to get somebody else because it can't just be, Garland down the stretch as the sole focus of the defense when we're trying to get a bucket. And everybody knows we're going to have to ISO because that's just how the NBA is. And we got to have somebody else who can go get a bucket when we need to. And I don't know that we have that if we send Mitchell off somewhere, if we have someone other than Garland who can do that.
right. And I see. So that's we talked about this. We texted back and forth, and I was saying, why not move Garland to the bench? I know you're spending a lot of money on him, but like, are they effective on the court together? Could you take advantage of them where you don't have them on the floor as much together and you let each one do their thing? Because I've heard it all over the place. You've seen it where they're kind of quote unquote taking turns and,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just moving the ball and doing what they need to do. Sometimes it does look like they're better off independent of one another.
Yeah, I mean, I know I respond. I don't think there's any possible
Right.
way Garland comes off the bench. And I mean, aside from that, like there's the coaching, I guess I'll call it a coachism for now, but it's like it doesn't matter who starts the game, it's who ends the game and you're still in that same predicament because you're going to have both guys on the floor at the end of the game. Like
Yeah.
how do you pick? Like, it's not just gonna be like, oh, well, you're doing well, so we're gonna play you, and like Mitchell, you go sit over here. Like, that's just not. I don't think that's a formula that works. I don't think it's a formula that's conducive to like, good camaraderie, because like one guy is going to feel slighted no matter which way you take it. And I think that's part of the issue with that. It's not a bad idea in theory, but I think in actual practicality, it's just not something that can work because egos are far too big in the league to do something like that.
Right. I mean, and I don't even know. It's kind of concerning to me for both Garland and Mitchell. For Garland, the guy gets hit in the head more than any player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
How many times are you going to get knocked upside the head, in the course of a season? What is he doing? Does he do such good shot fakes or head pump fakes? What's the deal? And
I
then
think he's just low to the ground.
it
He's
must
shorter
be
than everybody else.
must be a low center of gravity. Excellent.
Height.
Just excellent. And Mitchell, I keep questioning what is going on with him and cramps at the end of the game. Some nutritionist, somebody needs to figure something out that he's not cramping up. He plays hard. Dude seems to always be like running into things and jumping over people and so on and so forth. Make sure the guy's got enough electrolytes or whatever you have to do so it doesn't come to the end of the game where he's cramping up.
Yeah, I mean, the last game he ran into
the stanchion.
Yeah, so I mean, that it is what it is. I mean, he said he was fine, and I thought his shoulder was hurt when he was out yesterday. I was like, oh great, now we have a shoulder injury, and I know he had said he was fine, and then I was like, oh, he's sick. Okay, cool. Hopefully it is just sickness and not an actual shoulder injury that we're just trying to hide for now.
Oh, goodness gravy. Could you imagine?
I could, because of how it's gone with the Browns. Like, it seems just like that is our theme for Cleveland sports this year, is injuries out the wazoo.
Yeah, injuries out the wazoo and a mistrust of the media.
For real. A real mistrust.
We don't need any of that. We don't need any of that. So, all that being said, Cavs have a chance to win tonight, sweep a 4-game homestand, and do it when they're not healthy.
Yeah.
Certainly, the Pelicans' overall record better than the Jazz, but to be without Zion Williamson, not that they're not unfamiliar with that. I mean, we'll see what happens. I really do like to see Jared Allen has been stepping up nicely in the absence of Mobley, and that is definitely good to see. But I think it's going to take more unsung heroes tonight if they're going to pick up another victory, and they need to get healthy sooner rather than later. So, moving on, something that was going on yesterday that just, obviously it was the big news around the country, National Signing Day in college football. And the people on Twitter, Buckeye fans, going berserk because they didn't get this guy or they didn't sign that guy. And then you got those people, and that's crazy. And then you got the people who, are making the choices of where they're going to go to school, and they're flipping. The Dylan Raiola kid, he comes to Ohio State, then he's going to oh no, I'm going to go to Georgia. I'm not going to get playing time there. I'm going to go to Nebraska. Don't lie. Why did you decide not to stay at Georgia? Why did you not stay at Ohio State? Because you weren't going to play. You knew you were going to have to fight to play, and you wanted somebody to hand you your job. The kid went to 4 different high schools. Give me a break. That's baloney. All these kids are looking for the easy way out. They don't want to go anywhere and work hard. And this nonsense with the National Signing Day is ridiculous. They make such a big hubbub about it. How many of these guys are going to remain on the team after this season? Or are they going to transfer as well? It's all changed, and it has so little meaning. And I don't know down there, down in Carolina, how big of a deal it is there or what you see. But I don't know what to think of this. And why does everybody go bonkers about it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally care a lot about National Letter of Intent Day. Obviously, it technically speaking locks you in for a year. I mean, it's just like the state. Like I saw a tweet that said like recruiting doesn't matter anymore, but like the reality is it matters more than ever at this point. But it's not that you're just recruiting high school kids; you're recruiting your same kids to stay. You're recruiting transfers to come in and you're recruiting high school kids, and like that is just the reality. Like you can't just sit on your laurels anymore. Like it's just how it is. And it sucks a little bit. I mean, as a coach, if anybody transferred multiple times, like that is an immediate red flag to me as I'm recruiting. It's like, okay, like what's the like realistic possibility that you're going to remain here for 4 years? And like that obviously is a concern. Same thing, like if you transfer like AAU programs for basketball, like if you play on multiple different, club teams, so to speak, like that is also a red flag. Like it's not, I want people that are, gonna be stable where they are and work their way up and things like that. And I don't know that that is really how it is anymore. Because I mean, a lot of kids nowadays, like, I mean, in basketball at least, I'm sure football is probably pretty similar when they do like 77 stuff, but it's like you're playing on a regional team at this point. It's like the best people from the Southeast play on the same team, and you're like flying to games that you've not even really practiced for, and like you're just playing with the best players in your region, and that's your team for the season or whatever. And so I think it's just a different landscape now, and I don't think you can necessarily like sit back and say like, oh, hey, we got this kid. Like you have to recruit them over and over again until they go pro. Basically, it's like kind of the reality of the situation.
It is. It absolutely is. And now, especially with the NIL, it becomes a bidding war,
Yeah,
and and it's I don't like it one bit. I like the idea for at least the NIL. I like the fact that these players have an opportunity to earn some money, right? But the fact that it becomes who can outspend who is a bit, is kind of crazy, and has, in my opinion, messed up college football at least. And I don't know how big of a deal it is in basketball, because there are, you know, ex. I'm just not sure that it's impacted that way, or whether we just
yeah.
don't hear about it.
I think it was always more spread out, like the talent in basketball. I think because rosters are smaller and I mean, you have a bigger field to make the tournament. So, like, you get the Steph Currys of the world that pop up on a Davidson team that no one's ever heard of except for us in North Carolina, right? So I think it's easier to go to a smaller school and do that kind of thing, or not like, like a high. I mean, you're still realistically probably going to be at a high major if you're really going to go pro, but I just think it's easier in basketball to get seen because the net is just a little wider than football. Like it's really like the 4 or 5, 6 teams that like really produce a ton of pros, right? Like in basketball, it's not really the case. So I think that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, it just it's a new day, a new era, and it's gonna take for me. I don't know if I'll ever get adjusted to how things have changed. I suppose that if you don't change with the times, you're gonna get left behind.
Well, don't get adjusted because it sounds like they might actually start paying players, not NIL. So if they do that, I did see somebody proposed like basically you're working for the school, and so if that's the case, whoever you transfer to has to pay your buyout fee, and that's how it should work. And that is a pretty interesting proposition. I don't know if it'll actually work that way, but I do think it should be realistic. Same as like if you bought a coach out of their contract, you got to pay the buyout fee.
Right, and the idea of just being able to suddenly transfer, the basis for being able to transfer has gotten it was too strict, now it's gotten too loose. Let's find a happy medium there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So we'll see. It was ultimately, I think that in the grand scheme of things for Buckeye fans, it was a good day. Allegedly, it was rated as the uh, number two class. Um, but how that all translates, we shall see. And I think also these schools, they're looking for the big hits, the big names, and maybe they're missing on other things because you can't have necessarily have all five-star recruits. You need the guys to play other role positions. And if I'm talking about a team like Ohio State, we're looking at their roster and where they've kind of their downfall has been in the trenches
Yeah.
in recent years. So they certainly need that, and they have got to get back to having a couple impact players on the defensive line. Tuamoloau is phenomenal, but who else? Who else is helping that guy out? But that's a long ways away, and we're going to talk. We'll come back to college football because we're going to talk about the bowl games here. We'll have a little fun with that. But moving on, we are approaching. We have 3 games to go for every team in the NFL. Um, the Browns sit at 9-5 and currently in the 5th spot in the AFC, the top wild card position. First of all, I think we kind of going into the season, we felt with the group we had, hey, this could be a good season. But would you have imagined any way possible that this team would be 9-5 if somebody told you about all these injuries?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely not. Or that Joe Flacco is quarterbacking your team late in December? No way. No way.
No, it's just amazing that the Browns have been able to overcome everything they've overcome thus far. Um, they have certainly. I know there's people out there who want to talk about luck. Last week against the Bears, right? First of all, you had to play some good defense to get yourself in position to get back in the game to take the lead. And then they were fortunate that the Hail Mary doesn't land right in the lap of isn't held onto by Daryl Mooney.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it did land in the lap.
Right, right. You got very fortunate there. And I think for everybody to say that simply the Browns are lucky, there's a little bit of luck to it, but I think that you have to be good as well. It's why the Steelers, we get ticked off with them. They're so lucky. They're so lucky. Well, they also are well coached and throughout the years they play good. They play well and they're in games. Yeah, maybe they get a fortunate break, but when you're playing well and hard and keeping yourself in a game, those little things count. If you're not that good, it won't even matter because it's not going to come down to that and such.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer of it's better to be lucky than good any day of the week. And like if you want to call it luck, sure. Don't care. It's about time, in my opinion, right? Like we have been more unlucky than almost any other team, maybe any other team in the league in the past since 99, realistically. I mean, yeah, we made the playoffs in 2020, all that stuff. But that aside, like we have been incredibly unlucky and we have continued to be incredibly unlucky with the injuries we've had. But something about the team, like it's interesting because like obviously the Cavs have a bunch of injuries now, right? And like I'm like, let's pump the brakes on whether they're actually going to weather the storm because basketball, there's more games, all that stuff. But like the Browns have earned the right, in my opinion, to trust them that they will find a way to get it done because they have done it over and over again. I mean, they've won more games with like less than a 10% chance to win by whatever statistical analysis that stuff just does not happen to us. So like whatever, call it whatever you want, doesn't matter, it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to like look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm not going to be upset that Jake Moody misses a field goal for the 49ers. Yeah. I'm not going to be upset that maybe we got some borderline calls against Indianapolis. I'm not going to be upset that, the guy dropped the touchdown last week. There's all kinds of things. I'm not going to be upset that we got it. I'm like, oh my gosh, just it's nice, like you said, to be on the other side of the bounces because so many times it's gone the other way. Whether it was Tim Couch against the Jaguars, which all the spike and Bottlegate,
Yeah.
whether it was Dwayne Rudd chucking his helmet and getting called for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, giving the Chiefs a retry on the game-winning field goal on opening day. I mean, all of those things have happened to the Browns just since 1999, and there's plenty more of those instances against the Jets last year. I mean, the years they went 1-15, 0-16. How many times did they miss game-winning field goals and just completely hose themselves? So it's nice. It's nice to have that. Um, Certainly, last week's performance was not without its flaws. Um, I mean, 3 interceptions, and you look at those and you go, okay, the first one, there was a miscommunication on the route. And Alex Van Pelt talked about that today. There was a miscommunication on the route, etc. The second one, the pass to Tillman, I mean, he got popped.
Yeah.
He got popped, and the ball goes up in the air and it gets picked off. Okay, that's just kind of a bad break there, bad bounce. The last one, that was tough. The throw to the end zone, trying to hit Njoku, and he threw it late, got it picked off. Those are troubling. But how nice is it to have a veteran quarterback who can bounce back from those types of things? Because we've seen far too many times guys crumble under the pressure after making a few of those mistakes.
Yeah, what I think is really interesting, and I don't feel like they did this with Watson, which is interesting, but like Cooper has glowing reviews for Flacco, which I think is really notable. Like he said, I think today that, like he trusts him and that like, they felt like things were really looking up once he came in and that he throws a very catchable ball and like all of these things that are, I mean, super complimentary, where I don't feel like we've gotten that before out of Cooper. So I think it's really interesting that it's good that they feel that way. And I think he mentioned they feel that way because of where he's been and that he's got an MVP under his belt. He's won a Super Bowl, that kind of thing. And it does help. And he has seen a lot of things, and it, obviously it was really great to have him bounce back. But I just thought it was really notable that they're speaking so highly of him. And I don't think they've really done that. I mean, they've done the like, yeah, next man up, that kind of like they've done that, but this feels a little different. So I just thought that was pretty interesting to note.
It is. He has helped to galvanize the locker room.
Yeah.
I think that the adversity this team has faced, starting week 2, losing Nick Chubb, and then losing Watson, and all of these types of things, losing Conklin, they have, like you said, the next man up. Flacco coming in to settle down the quarterback position at a time when it was so uncertain has been a huge boost of confidence. I mean, the fact that this team got 29 yards on the ground, 29 yards against the Bears. Now, I mean, we were down after Batonio went out. We're down to one of our normal starting 5 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, makes a difference there. But when I didn't look in the stats, but I would love to know when the last time was that the Browns had 2 players with over 100 yards receiving in the same game. You get Cooper 4 for 109 and Njoku 10 for 104, and then Marquise Goodwin 1 for 50, for 57 yards, and even Tillman with 52 yards. That
is had a nice game.
It was impressive, and I am impressed.
Minus the missed route, but other than that, he was good.
Well, yeah, you'll have that sometimes. Okay,
yeah. He's a rookie. He's a rookie. He'll figure it out.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It sucks, but he is a rookie, and it's going to come with time. What he has shown generally is an ability to get to the right spot and to make the catch and be physical. It's really impressive what they have been able to do. But and all of that, being said, the defense played really well still. I mean, it didn't look like, we win 20-17. They saved the Browns' butts. Yeah. They saved their butts. I mean, the play by Alex Wright, the play on, the edge was that Mitchell that made the shoestring tackle on field?
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. Those are the types of plays that are the difference between winning and losing. I mean, Justin Fields, 19 of 40, 166 yards, one TD, and two interceptions. That is not impressive. And if I'm the Chicago Bears, I've got the direct dial to Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, at like part of me, I mean, I don't think Fields is bad. But I mean, I do think they'll ship him somewhere, like maybe Atlanta. I think he's from Georgia, right? I think I heard earlier on something I was listening to. But I do think it would be pretty interesting if you picked up, like Marvin Harrison Jr., assuming he goes out. I need him to go out for my dynasty team, so hopefully he does. No offense to Ohio State fans. And then like Neighbors, if you got Neighbors and MHG to pair with DJ Moore, like that is a firepower. Talk about like offensive weapons. I mean, they need offensive line help too, but I'm just
Yeah.
thinking of the possibilities that could be there if you can trust Justin Fields for a little bit longer. And I don't think he's the problem, but like I don't fully trust the quarterbacks. Like I honestly trust Drake May more than I trust Caleb Williams, I think.
Yeah, and that might be a topic for as we get closer to the draft,
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about the quarterback prospects as to what we've seen and what's been demonstrated. I just don't know, and I didn't get to see very closely every single play of the game this past Sunday. But 19 of 40 is not good. That is not good.
Well, they did drop a pretty surefire
Touchdown, yes.
touchdown.
Yes. Yes, they did. They absolutely did. And again, fortunate break that
Yeah.
doesn't often seem to go the Browns' way,
Yeah.
and it happens. And I think for the Bears, though, you got to look at it and say, okay, Fields is going to be coming up. His rookie contract is going to be coming up. We don't want to pay this guy.
Yeah.
He hasn't done enough to pay him. And he's injury prone. I'm thinking they're going to go with a clean slate and
I
maybe
mean, they probably will, but I
uh,
just don't know if I think it is the right move for them. Because I mean, you could roll the dice and you end up like Bryce Young in Carolina, where you're second guessing yourself that you didn't pick CJ.
and that's true. But they also got to say, okay, do we think is it going to be much worse to go with a rookie than Fields when we know he's not the quarterback of our future?
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to pick the right one. If you pick the right one, I just think Caleb Williams has a lot of, I don't know. It's not really off-field issues. I just don't know that I trust his mental toughness to be a QB1 from what I've seen.
100% agree. And he got tested at USC this past
Yeah.
season,
And they didn't win. So like
right.
that's kind of where, I mean, not the Carolina one either, because they obviously lost some games they shouldn't have, but Drake May was pretty much on an island by himself. I don't think anyone thought, I
Right.
mean, USC is still, they are what they are, but yeah, I don't know. It's just, like Baker said, right? You got to win. QB's got to win. And they went and paid, Daniel Jones, and now they're regretting that. And so, maybe he was onto something.
Right. So looking ahead and toward Sunday's matchup. So the Browns, they've got the Texans in Houston. Hey, at least we don't have all the distractions this time around like we did last year.
Yes.
In Deshaun's his first game back, and accusers in the stands. I mean, that was a circus. That was an absolute circus. The Browns won that game, but gosh, that was awful. So, that's cool. And I guess as a positive thing, for the Browns fans, it looks like it's going to be Case Keenum.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're dealing with someone who obviously he's a veteran, much like Flacco. I don't know that he's got as much arm talent as Flacco, and he's not necessarily mobile. But we saw him in Cleveland. He's going to do the right things. And it's going to be, I think, unless we can get them behind the sticks, which is going to be the challenge, he's going to be looking to get rid of that ball pretty quickly and to keep the pass rush at bay for the Browns. And I'm sure that, those lack of holding calls won't have anything to do with the fact that Myles Garrett won't get to the quarterback again, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Looking at the Texans here, they are actually, upon looking at them, they are very good defensively. they're actually allowing only 93 and a half yards rushing per game. So that's going to create a challenge because they're already playing well defensively. And we've got the banged up offensive line. We don't know. Posick was out at practice. We don't know if Batonio is going to be back, but it's been tough treading. It
Yeah.
really has. And I don't know what they're going to do there. Um, and then they're right kind of in the middle of the pack in yards per game and in points per game. Although the passing yards are giving up 239.1, which is 25th. So the overall number looks better when you balance out the run and the pass. They will have Nico Collins back. He's over 1,000 yards on the season. And then you got Devin Singletary, 711 yards rushing on the season. And is he actually, and I should have known this, but is he playing? Is he active, or was he injured at some point this season? I don't know why I'm thinking that.
Oh, I don't think so. Their actual starting running back had gotten hurt at some point, I believe, and he also just hasn't really produced. 'Cause I also had him on a fantasy team, but we won't talk about that.
Oh, we won't. No. Yeah,
Rough.
it's obviously that's a difficult thing. I'm trying to look here and just say yes. Singletary had a big game last week against the Titans. He went for 121 yards, 26 carries, 121 yards, 4.65 average. I mean, no touchdowns, but that is very productive. So the defensive line is going to have to step up and continue to play well against the run. And everybody's talking about it. So it's out there. It's the obvious. The Browns have not played near as well on the road as they have at home. 2-4 on the road, 7-1 at home. So they have got to step up here. I don't think that Houston has a particularly good home field advantage, and it's an opportunity. Really, the Browns need to be focused to win and not falter against the Texans, because the playoffs and everything that the Browns are looking for is right in front of them. And we talk about the playoffs and all. Did you see the scenarios, all the possible scenarios that are out there for the Browns to clinch a playoff spot?
I mean, we're one of 4 teams that can clinch this weekend. So, hey, enjoy it. No matter what those scenarios look like, we're one of 4.
Right. So you're saying there's a chance. I mean, I looked at it, and there are a couple games which I feel one way or another are going to trip up the whole scenario. One, the Bills at the Chargers. I almost I most certainly think Buffalo is hot right now, and they're going to be a more difficult team to deal with. They're playing to win. The Chargers have nothing to play for. They just fired their coach and GM.
But the teams that have fired coaches have gone on to win pretty frequently in that next game. They're galvanized. So
right,
I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there.
You going to put money on that?
No, but I'm saying that it has happened. I mean, Oakland kind of turned itself all around a little bit.
They did, but they weren't as bad.
They weren't. No, it was Denver that gave up 70. I was like,
no,
they gave up.
I think that
they were pretty bad, though.
However, Easton Stick, who is he? Who is he? I've never.
Who is Jake Browning? And now look at him.
Well, I've heard of him. He went to University of Washington. I knew who he was. Easton Stick in the mud.
What about Tommy DeVito? Who was Tommy DeVito?
Hey, he's Tommy Cutlets or something like that. No, but the point is, I don't see that happening for the Chargers.
Yeah.
I really think that the Bills can overcome any bump that the Chargers might get from the change at the top, especially with all the injuries that the Chargers have. I just don't think they have enough firepower, and it's really, they've got to go through a whole house cleaning there. And they started the process, so it'll be interesting to see what happens for the Chargers. But I think that's one game that's going to be a trip up. That's not going to be able to be that's part of the equation. Then you're talking about the Broncos game. Patriots at Broncos. That's I mean, I love the opportunity there for Bill Belichick coaching against Sean Payton. And there's a fighter's chance for the Patriots. They really stink this year, but you never know. They are going to Mile High, and I feel like that's going to be a tough one to get. Some of the other games are a little more possible. You've got, what is it? I believe that if I looked at the schedule right, you've got Jacksonville going to, pardon me, losing track of it here. Um, Jacksonville is at Tampa Bay. Jacksonville desperately needs a win. So does Tampa Bay. Um, Baker's been playing really well. Did you hear he had a perfect rating in his last game at Lambeau
Yeah, I
Field?
saw him say something like nothing like Green Bay in December, and I'm like, yeah, I remember a very different experience from a couple years ago. But sure, nothing like it. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I don't know. Obviously, I mean that Jacksonville game, we want them to lose.
Well, Lawrence is out, or out temporarily. I guess I don't know if they've ruled him out officially.
Yeah, I
He's
have
in
not seen
concussion
it.
protocol, I think, still, right?
Right, and I have not, and I haven't heard much on that. Most of the feed, everything I'm looking at, is focused on C.J. Stroud. That's the concussion we're looking at.
Yes.
Um, but you got that game, that one, Indianapolis and Atlanta. To the extent that messes with us, I think they can even win that game, and that won't hurt us. I mean, there's obviously a bunch of scenarios, but a lot of it is tough. And then you also, and most of the first things first, the Browns have to win, but then you're looking at the Saturday games because you're paying attention to the Buffalo at the Chargers, you're paying attention to Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, and both of those games are pivotal in one or another scenario somewhere along the lines. I am hopeful, and for your sake, kind of hopeful. Browns win and have a chance, and ultimately have a chance to clinch on Thursday night in front of the home fans. Against the Aaron Rodgers-less Jets.
Yeah, that's like a whole. Don't even put me on my soapbox about the Aaron Rodgers debacle.
Well, please feel free. That's what we're here for.
It's just, I mean, he basically just drugged them all, like just all for show. You drugged the entire organization along. First of all, you made them sign all your receivers who have sucked the entire year, and they signed them before you even got traded there. So that's like a whole issue that I have. They suck. So now you've got all these old receivers that can't produce, along with Garrett Wilson, who's frustrated because he doesn't have a quarterback because Aaron Rodgers was like, oh, I'll be back. Don't worry. I tore my Achilles. Totally can come back. It's a whole other thing. I was arguing with my dad about this earlier, so he's probably listening downstairs, like laughing because I was literally in this debate. But now he's taken up a roster spot, and I know they suck. So, like, I know they're not in the playoffs. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever. But he's taking up a roster spot because of his own selfish, like, desire. Like, just because you want to practice and throw some, and his footwork doesn't even look good or normal. Like, I wish he was playing next week because I would love to see Myles Garrett tackle a statue in the pocket. So,
yeah, it certainly would be nice to tackle a statue, as you said. He really needs to get his clock cleaned, and maybe knock some sense into him. This guy's a maniac.
Impossible to knock some sense into him. I think
he's a complete narcissistic lunatic.
I mean, he is Looney Tunes, that's for sure. He believes in all the crazy conspiracies.
Yeah, I'm not down with that guy, and it ticks me off that he's created this platform to go on Pat McAfee's show, and everybody
never check him.
No, nobody calls him for the BS. Call him out. He's beyond frustrating. He and New York deserve each other.
Oh, like the week before, he went on there and was like, "Yeah, I'm good to get cleared next week," and then this week he's like, "Yeah, I wasn't gonna get cleared for another couple weeks." Like, I just can't.
Yeah, that's a complete mess. But as I say, you're headed up to Cleveland.
So excited, ready to go. My friend gets to go to her first game. It'll be great.
That is awesome. Where'd you get seats?
We're in the 300 level on the end zone. So it got pretty decent seats, and I feel like a good view of the field, so you can kind of see what's happening because you're high enough that you can see everything that's happening, but not so high that you feel like you might fall over the edge.
That is true. Well, I mean, we sat up in the 500 sections against Atlanta, and it was a beautiful view.
Yeah.
We weren't all the way to the top, but being in that upper deck was really a great view. No problem seeing the whole game and really digesting everything. So that is awesome. That is fantastic. When was the last time you had gone to a game?
Oh, we sat in the dog pound in 2019, I think.
Okay,
So it's
okay.
been a little while. I mean, definitely not the COVID year. Haven't really been back since. We try to go when they're in Charlotte when they play Carolina,
Right.
for sure. But they haven't done that in a couple years. So yeah, I'm excited, ready to go. Hopefully, we can clinch. I got a hotel, so I don't have to drive anywhere. So that'll be even better. Plus, it's a night game, so I didn't want to try to risk that. There may be some snow and weather, and me as a southerner are not used to that, so we don't want to risk driving in any kind of weather. So
No, no, that's probably a good thing. That is definitely good thinking right there. And the beauty is this: if let's say it all played out, let's in our dreams of dreams here, and the Browns win on Sunday and ultimately win on Thursday and clinch a playoff spot. Can you imagine? I mean, the party that's going to be going on down there.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that'll be crazy, and it may not be able to happen actually, because if they need, well, it depends, on who else loses and wins. If like their singular victory is what they need to get them a clinching, to clinch a spot versus a win, and then somebody else over the weekend to lose or tie or whatever it is.
yeah.
But
If 11 wins doesn't get you in for sure. Although I did see it looked like there's like a realistic chance where all the wild card teams win 11 games.
that would be just that's like an anomaly,
Yeah, it would be an anomaly. I mean, rarely do you win 10 and you not make it. I
right?
think it's only happened a couple of times.
Oh
So
yeah, I think I remember one of the times that happened. Yeah, the Brown,
it was us, yes. Yep.
stupid Jim Sorgi. Stupid Jim Sorgi. Yeah, and it seems like the teams around us in our division, they've got problems. Pittsburgh with their quarterbacks, they're going back to Mason Rudolph. And then you've got disgruntled George Pickens. And I've just been reading about it, and it's true. The line of receivers in Pittsburgh that have had problems there, just mental issues. Juju Smith-Schuster, Antonio Brown. Now you got Pickens. What is going on there?
I think it's pretty clear the culture is just not what it used to be. It's fallen apart a bit, honestly.
It is, and I'm not upset about that.
No, it's kind of fun to see. I did particularly like Jaylen Warren being like, well, that's his prerogative. He doesn't want to block for me, but I would block for him. And it's like, clearly there's a good little rift there, and I do quite enjoy that.
It is always nice to see that. But let me ask you this before we move away from the Browns, here. If the Steelers were willing to move George Pickens for not much, would you want George Pickens on the Browns, or is he too much of a drama queen?
I mean, he's obviously pretty talented, but and I do feel like comfortable with where the culture is. Like, it seems like we had been turning a corner leading up to this year, but this year, I mean, it just feels very, very different. And I think people that have come in have spoken to that. Do I think that I would want to risk that to bring in someone who's had some questionable character in the way that he has? Not particularly, because like in our system, you got to block if you're a wide receiver. I don't want to deal with this no blocking. If Nick Chubb could score a touchdown, Nick Chubb's going to score a touchdown. So he's got to be able and willing to block. So I don't think we would roll the dice. I don't think I would want to roll the dice. But I'm happy if they want to move on, ship him out of the division. Go ahead.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. All right. So 'tis the season for bowl games.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm looking at, first of all, my opinion on it. My opinion, as well stated and put out there, is unless you're playing for the championship, you're in the college football playoff, it's all a bunch of BS. These bowl games are BS. I don't blame any player for not wanting to play. If Marvin Harrison doesn't want to play in the bowl game, I have no problem with that. Absolutely no problem with that. The only thing he could do is hurt his draft stock.
Yeah.
He could get injured. Talk to Frank Gore. Talk
Yeah.
to him. The linebacker, was it Jalen Smith for Notre Dame that got his leg wrecked against Ohio State? And pardon me if I'm getting the name wrong, but in a Fiesta Bowl, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So These are a bunch of who gives a bleep bowls, right? So, we talked about this and would love to go through these bowls and figure out, like, have you looked at these bowl games?
Some
And
of
what
them, yeah.
some of them, like, I've never even heard of some of these sponsors. Like, what exactly is the Myrtle Beach Bowl? Like, did Myrtle Beach, the city, sponsor this?
Probably.
I mean, give me a break. This is garbage. The Myrtle Beach Bowl. Okay, at least I suppose in that game, you have people that are able to go to slightly better weather. You had the fine folks from Ohio University in Athens,
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, going down there against Georgia Southern. So for the people from Ohio, hey, they get a nice trip to Myrtle Beach. Great, good for them. The Cricket Celebration Bowl? The Cricket Celebration Bowl. Oh, come on, man. We're just making stuff up at this point. Who are the R&L? What's R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl? Hey, Jacksonville State against the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana.
The Raging Cajuns used to be good. I don't know if they are anymore.
I mean, I know who they are, but that's terrible. How about the Avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl? Appalachian State, Miami of Ohio, a close game. At least they get to go to Orlando. But again, it's a who gives a crap bowl. These teams are going it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. And then you've got the places where it's like, okay, not only are you going to send me to a garbage bowl game, right? You're going to send me to this garbage bowl game, but then you're going to send me somewhere cold, like the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Kent State played in that a couple of years ago. You're going out to Boise, Idaho to freeze your tuchus off. Really? I mean, I cannot believe that I understand there's money involved, and that's what kind of sucks. If it weren't for the money, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to get an extra game, I mean, as a player, when you're not going pro, which most of these players are not, right? You want to play every extra game you can. So if you can get a bowl game, you get an extra game, go try. Like for basketball, we get to go on these holiday trips, right? Like football doesn't really get that. So I guess it's like their version.
I suppose so.
That's the benefit.
I suppose so, but they're charging people premium prices to travel to who knows whereville.
Yeah.
Playing an absolute meaningless game. And so for some of these teams, all right, I get it. I kind of get it. The small schools, the mid majors, I kind of understand, you're like, it's a big deal. But I just think the whole thing has gotten out of hand. I've never heard of half of these cities. They're in the middle of nowhere. Hey, where is let's see. What place did I figure out did I look at? And I'm like, Mobile, Alabama. Mobile, okay, fine. But what is the 68 Ventures Bowl? I mean, they can't even get good sponsors. They cannot. It's crazy. It's absolutely the Crampton Bowl. How about you cram it? Cram it. This is terrible. And then what do we got? Hey, Duke is playing Troy in the Birmingham Bowl. Like they couldn't even come. It's kind of like the Myrtle Beach Bowl. They couldn't even come up with a real sponsor. Oh, it's the Birmingham Bowl. I don't know. I'm a little bit jilted on the whole bowl system, and then the fact that and you kind of look at it in the grand scheme of things and the way it used to be, where you did have these set matchups. It could be a matter of, hey, you're playing, even though you're not playing for the national title, because only these top two teams back, again, back in the day, still the Rose Bowl mattered. All these things had a lot of meaning, but these other things, there's so many of them that they've lost all meaning.
Yeah, I mean, even I think the Final Four or whatever, I don't know what they call it, but I think you're going to see more and more players opt out of playing in even those games because, it feels like it's the direction we're heading in, right? Like they want to go make their money, and those are the schools that are going to produce players that can go make their money. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm sure there's like a handful of players that will obviously still play, but it's I think something to monitor about how many players decide to opt out of even the games that do really actually matter. Especially if they're expanding the field, right, next year?
Yes, next year will be a 12-team field, and that is going to be. I think you're going to see a spike, or you're going to. It might take a while before people start really opting out of that. Um, Again, it's kind of like in college basketball. If you get into the dance, you're playing.
Yeah.
You know, you get into the dance, you get into the college football playoff, and have an opportunity to win a championship. That's what you're going to do. All these other things are completely pointless in my mind. Other than I understand for the schools, the money is important. But other than that, I see no purpose. I see absolutely no purpose. I know what you're saying about playing extra game, but you know what? If you put enough on film during the season, or you should have, you should get invited to a senior bowl. You should get tryouts. There are plenty of ways to make it.
Yeah. I mean, unless it starts to, I guess, hurt players that sit early. But like when you're talking about a 12-team field, like you're going to play multiple extra games with multiple extra chances to get injured. So I just think there's a higher likelihood that people might decide that it's not really worth it in
They
the end.
may, but I think the idea that they have a chance to win a championship would drive them.
They're still going to get the ring, though. And they want the money. They don't want the championships anymore. I think that's been made clear by some of the transfer situations.
Very interesting. But yes, some of these bowls are absolutely awful. Barstool Sports, Arizona Bowl.
Oh yeah, Barstool got one. Yeah,
Great.
we tried to name it something ridiculous, and they got
Hey,
rejected.
we got the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. What? Cheez-It Citrus Bowl? Really?
I will say there's nothing worse than the mayo bowl where they dump mayo on people because that is awful. And I also hate mayo. And they dumped an Oreo in mayo last year, I believe. It was Mike Golick Jr. Yeah, that was terrible. Did
Yeah,
not fan.
that is definitely awful. Okay. So now that I've gotten that off my chest, we've had a chance to go over the worst bowl games, but the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I mean, I watched the game the other day. I happened to tune in because the game itself was good, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
they
change.
usually have decent teams. Yeah.
You know, the Old Dominion game. I cannot believe they blew that game to Western Kentucky. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so a couple things here just on the holiday theme. We're gonna go a favorite and a least favorite for you. All right. First things up, what is your favorite Christmas movie?
The Holiday.
The Holiday. The Holiday. I know that one, but what?
With Jude Law and Cameron Diaz. Jack Black is in there. Kate Winslet. They switch houses.
Oh, okay. I don't think I've ever seen it. Okay.
It's a rom-com.
All right. There you go. There you go. That's good. Yeah, I think for me, if I'm gonna have to go Christmas movies, I'm not one of these. First of all, I don't think I've ever. You know how everyone talks about is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I've never seen Die Hard.
Oh, really? Not even once? I've seen it, but I don't really remember it that well.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but I would say it's definitely, if I'm gonna go Christmas movie, you throw out there for me, just with the Northeast Ohio connections, A Christmas Story is
Fair.
certainly my favorite. Christmas Vacation is right up there, near that. And for whatever reason, I love watching the movie. Did you ever see Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not, I mean, where he yells at Sinbad, and he's like, "They don't want you. They don't want you. Nobody wants you," or whatever the heck. I forget what his name is of the character that he played, and that was good stuff. All right, and we're all tortured by the Christmas music. There has to be one. What is your least favorite Christmas song?
Oh gosh, I like most Christmas songs. I probably like the Little Drummer Boy because I just think it's a little like, yeah, I guess.
It's a
Yeah,
little too much rum pum pum pum.
a little bit. I mean, I like some. I do have a version of it that is a newer version on a playlist for this year's holiday playlist. But for the most part, I am not a fan.
All right, yeah, for me, it's Mariah Carey. I know some people hate Wham.
Yeah, I saw the game about
the Whamageddon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some people hate Wham and some people hate Paul McCartney about simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
Yeah.
But I think I'm Mariah Carey has been played and played and
Yeah.
overplayed, and I can't stand it. So I'm gonna go with that as my least favorite. And on that note, Madison, why don't you tell us what has you going nuclear this week?
Oh, let's see. Um, I feel like I have to bring up Taylor Swift again. Travis Kelsey,
Okay.
because everybody is trying to put Travis Kelsey's struggles on Taylor Swift like it's her fault. And it is obviously not her fault. It has certainly got more to do with the fact that the Chiefs only have Rashee Rice who can catch a ball at this point, other than Travis Kelsey. So, like, he gets doubled all the time. And I just think that people need to slow their roll when blaming someone else, because it's not like we're going in and like you're not doing well in your real job, your office life, and we're like, all right, well, their significant other is obviously to blame for their shortcomings. Like, that is not a realistic thing that happens in life. Like, you are responsible for yourself. It brings me back to the podcast where Jason Kelsey did not bring jeans, and his wife Kylie was supposed to bring jeans, and Travis was like, well, why didn't Jason bring jeans for Jason? And it's like, why doesn't Travis be responsible for Travis's play? And I think he would agree with that because they're obviously in love and they're going to get married. But I just think people need to like chill out. Like, people were booing her. I mean, whatever, booing her this weekend. She was on the road. Like, whatever. I don't really care about that. Do what you want. But like, the people that are making her responsible for Travis Kelsey not playing well, as if she was not the person who also helped him, score
Yes.
touchdowns in the beginning of the year, catch a ton of passes when she was coming to games. It's like that didn't just like go away. It's just the fact that everyone else figured out no one else on the Chiefs can catch at this point. So that's what has me going nuclear. Happy holidays.
Oh, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. Well, what has me going nuclear, Madison, is what we were talking about earlier before we came on the air. I'm seeing people who are getting ticked off about NBA players not playing. And I understand the general idea that the load management is a bunch of BS, it's a bunch of baloney. And that is a problem. I get it. But the person I saw complaining is complaining about tonight's Cavs Pelicans game. And of the people are there's two players for injured for the Cavs, Mobley and Garland, and then you've got Mitchell sick. And you got Zion Williamson sick for the Pelicans. Who knows? That guy, I would never count on him to play.
I wanted to see him tonight, so I am also sad.
And that's
I just
fair.
want to see how, because everybody jokes about his diet. I just wanted to see what he looks like.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's about one bucket short of I don't know, something like that. I can't come up with a good statement there. But yeah, my thing is, look, as a sports fan, you have to understand this going into it, okay? And if you're worried about your kids' feelings, maybe as a parent you need to be more responsible. Maybe you need to explain, "Hey, they may not play." And also, if you're really a fan of the team, aren't you going there to cheer the team on and whomever is on the team? Shouldn't it be about the experience, not boo hoo hoo, my favorite player didn't play? Cry me a river. Stop complaining, okay? You got a problem with it, and when it's legitimate, I think that's a bit much. That is definitely a bit much. If people are just doing the load management thing, hey, that's just part of the game. That's part of the game we have today. It's not something we necessarily love, but really give me a break and ease up. Okay, stay in your lane. They're going to do what they're going to do. The best thing you can do is, as a fan, if you're worried about your kids, you need to talk to them. Be a real parent. Be a real parent. Tell them what the reality is and explain it to them. And if they can't get over it, that seems like something you've done wrong as a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell my kid, I mean, we go to I'm sitting there getting ready to go to the Browns game against Arizona. I buy tickets. Who knows who's going to be injured? Did I know at the time? I don't know when I bought them, but I mean, at the time, maybe I knew Nick Chubb was out. But, is Myles Garrett going to be injured? Is Deshaun going to play? Are all what's going to happen? You don't know, but you go because you love the team.
Yeah.
And that is what has me going nuclear this week. Madison, thank you as always. Have a very, very happy, healthy Christmas and a safe trip up to Ohio. We're going to be going streaming live on Thursday night while you're at. You didn't know you were going on live at the game? No. But seriously, hopefully there will be a clinching opportunity on Thursday night. Safe travels and best to your family. Appreciate you as always. So until next time, for Madison Delaney, I'm Ethan Greenberg. You have been watching Going Nuclear, full blown coverage of the